Ladies and gentlemen, Free Speech Week, being put on by Milo Yiannopoulos, is going to be happening in Berkeley in just about a week from now. So it's 4 days of right-wing speakers, Trump supporters, coming to Berkeley and speaking about various issues. A lot of people have started to question, why would Milo want to put on an event with this many right-wing personalities in Berkeley? And I think the reason's pretty obvious. Obviously, there's a PR opportunity here for many of the speakers and for Milo himself. But let's also consider that there may be a bit of some emotional satisfaction for Milo. He tried having his event where he would speak at Berkeley back in February, and he wasn't able to. So I assume it feels good for him to now set up a week-long event with a handful of high-profile right-wing speakers. You've got Mike Cernovich, Lucian Winrich, Steve Bannon is going to be speaking on the 27th, Milo himself, even Eric Prince, Pamela Geller. The list is huge. Now, it's my understanding the list isn't 100% confirmed, but these people are expected to be there. I'm hearing that security hasn't been set up either. So a lot of people are wondering whether this event will actually happen and where it will happen. In response to this event, we're hearing that professors and students are calling for a campus-wide boycott, telling everyone not to show up because they fear for their physical and mental safety. First, I just gotta say, my opinion, a university worried about the mental safety of individuals from hearing the opinions of high-profile personalities, that is not a good learning environment. College is supposed to be a higher learning facility, right? We talk about higher education, in which case you're going to hear a lot of things you don't like. You're going to hear about history you don't like. So it's very strange to me that a university would try and shield people from ideas when it's the very opposite of, it's the antithesis of what a university is supposed to be. And this has been a long-raging debate with the idea of universities and progressive politics. But for professors to tell students not to listen to certain ideas out of fear of their mental safety is just a very strange thing, I suppose. By all means, detest the speakers and their opinions and stand up to them. But you need to know what they're talking about if you're going to be justified in your indignation. So, should this event carry on, I will likely head to Berkeley to cover it. So I guess we'll see what happens, but this will now segue into a sort of a debrief on the video I put out about the Ben Shapiro event. There's a few things that I think need to be talked about. I didn't do it yesterday because I was kind of chilling out, but you know, I spoke with one man from Refuse Fascism. It was one of the first interviews that I did. And for some reason, and this is not uncommon, he refused to denounce attacks on the innocent. I asked him about Antifa. In several instances, they have attacked innocent people or people trying to de-escalate violence. Is that justified? And he refused to make a statement about it. He said he didn't want to get into the game of blaming those who would fight fascism. The conundrum for me, I suppose, is that these people claim to want to fight injustice and oppression. If an innocent person or an uninitiated individual is walking on the street and they get attacked and beaten, well, that's oppression. That's injustice. And I wouldn't stand for that. And I would assume that anyone fighting fascism and fighting oppression would also denounce this. But I suppose this leads into the conversation I was having before about tribalism, that it's more important to succeed in their cause than to denounce the actual problems our world is facing, our country is facing. Fascism, oppression, injustice, they're all bad things. And you can still support the idea of anti-fascism and denounce those that would attack the innocent. In fact, that would make your cause stronger. But for whatever reason, we don't see it. And to be completely honest, we see the same thing with police departments, which has always been baffling to me. When I talk to these activists who complain about police accountability, a police officer kills someone. There's reason to believe that it was an unjustified killing, that the cop was not in fear for his life. These things happen very often. Why then do the activists use the same exact rhetoric when refusing to condemn their own? They say the police will never hold themselves accountable. Well, neither do these far-left activists. No one seems to want to hold their own accountable. You got to start doing it. It's time to look inward and realize you can make your cause stronger when you weed out the bad actors and stand up to those that would make you look bad. This I just can't wrap my head around. But I think the idea of tribalism is better exemplified with the woman I spoke to near the end of the video who said that in some instances it is the victim's fault. To an extent. I mean, it was a complicated conversation. I think she may have been a bit confused. But she said that when it comes to issues of sexual assault, it is not the victim's fault ever, because that is just, you're being yourself and you're attacked for it. But in the instance of political ideologies, it is your fault. You should have common sense. And I think when you hear this idea of victim blaming as a black or white issue, the tribalism really comes out. That in issues perceived as being, you know, left-wing or more supported by the left, there's no victim blaming, you can't do that. But then in issues where it's a right-wing person coming to a left-wing area, then it is the victim's fault. This, to me, was just pure tribalism, because the reality is it's not one or the other. It's not black or white. It's never the victim's fault when they get attacked, obviously. But we can't say that the people who are victims are not 100% absolved of responsibility. We have a responsibility to keep ourselves safe and be prepared, but it is not our fault when we are victimized. But now there's something else that I just sat here for a little while scratching my head about. You know, I get comments very often talking about how I've become an alt-right shill and Tim is supporting the right and things like that, very much like Dave Rubin or, in some circumstances, Philip DeFranco and many other left-leaning personalities who criticize the left. I look at the idea of free speech, and I'm absolutely confused that it is considered now a right-wing position, that the left has sort of disavowed or called for an end to free speech. They tell me that I've changed. And so I started looking at some of the old propaganda meme pieces I used to watch, and they still hold true to this day. Many of the videos that were going viral at or around the Arab Spring and Occupy Wall Street talk about the importance of freedom of speech and the First Amendment, how the government would try to roll back our rights on freedom of speech. And I support that idea, right? We gotta fight back and make sure we don't lose freedom of speech. We don't want a police state going around telling people they can't protest. Protests are a good thing. But we don't want people smashing windows and destroying things. That's not freedom of speech, that's an imminent threat. Well, now we have the far left not only engaging in acts of violence through Antifa, destroying property, but more importantly, beating innocent people. They're also calling for an end to free speech. Let's look at Occupy Wall Street and what these protesters were talking about. A lot of the protesters were saying they had a right to speak, they had a right to assemble, and the police were violently suppressing them. Okay, well now it's the conservatives and the Trump supporters who are saying that exact same thing, but it's Antifa who is suppressing them. The far left and Antifa literally say that free speech has limits and should not be allowed in certain circumstances. They then go out and physically attack those who would try to express their speech. It's strange to me how people can claim I'm the one who moved to the right when they are the ones who are actually more aligned with their own opponents from 7 years ago. Videos could come out saying free speech is paramount, protect the First Amendment, Occupy Wall Street happens all over the country, and many of these same people are flabbergasted that I would still support the same cause. Please, someone explain to me how this happens. How Occupy Wall Street fighting for freedom of assembly and speech are now the ones fighting against it. And then, I guess somewhat ironically, claiming it's everyone else who has changed, who has become more right, who have become fascists. This I just don't understand. So it's not surprising to me that 12% of Bernie supporters voted for Trump. You've got people who are actively fighting against free speech and arguing for militancy to suppress certain ideas. It's the antithesis of the protest movement in 2011. Yet many of those people from 2011 are supporting this. We are in a weird political landscape where WikiLeaks is considered right-wing. That right-wing people are supporting WikiLeaks, but it was the left who supported WikiLeaks 7 years ago. They're saying that WikiLeaks, it's the left accusing WikiLeaks of being Russian propaganda now. Sean Hannity apologizing to Julian Assange. How does this make any sense? And on top of that, there's this weird left-wing nationalism emerging, where you've got the Russia sphere, people associated with the left, Hillary Clinton supporters, who are nationalist liberals, who are offended or scared of Russian interference. I go to events and I see people very proud of America on the left that I never would have thought possible. At DEF CON, there was a former federal agent giving a speech talking about how he swore an oath to uphold the Constitution, and the entire room, over 1,000, maybe 2,000 people, clapped and cheered for that. And that was surprising to me. Our culture has shifted. Whereas 5 years ago, these people were booing the government, booing the authorities, they're now cheering for them. People on the left are calling for an end to free speech. Even though they supported it years ago, they've flipped. It's no doubt that the left and the right are fractured. And now people are saying, you know, I'm watching CNN, and you've got Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All bill. The pundits are saying this is the litmus test for those who would try to run on the Democratic ticket in the coming years, because if you don't support universal health care, you'll never win. The left is absolutely fractured between the progressives and the neoliberals, and the right is fractured as well. The never-Trump conservatives still exist, and the Trump supporters are there. It's almost as if we have 4 parties today. So you know what? I'm going to need your help to understand what the hell is going on. When I watch these old videos from Occupy Wall Street, I feel like I'm watching Trump rallies based on the rhetoric that's coming out about defending freedom of speech and protecting the Constitution, fighting against government oppression and war. So again, I'm gonna need your help. You comment below and tell me what the hell is going on, because I can't seem to figure it out. If you like the video, click the like button. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. Stay tuned for breaking news live streams when breaking news happens. The next event should be Berkeley Free Speech Week, so stay tuned for that. And if you want to support the work that I do, make sure you go to timcast.com/donate. Give whatever you'd like, give nothing at all. My videos are always free and available every day at 4 p.m. There should be a live stream tonight. I usually do a live stream every Sunday at 8 p.m., so hopefully it happens. Stay tuned, and I'll see you then.